Hello everyone, my name is Marian Guevara and welcome to a new video. Huge hello to all the new subscribers and to anyone who is coming back. Today, as you can tell from the title, I'll be doing a sketchbook tour. So yeah, I not only do book reviews, book discussions, movie reviews, movie discussions, I also do some other miscellaneous type of videos, and I have already done a sketchbook tour before. And here I'm just going to show you some of the pieces I've done, and oftentimes, most of the time, they are inspired by films that I've watched, books that I've read, and I'm just going to show you the pieces and kind of go through my thought processes on, how I came to draw these, the specific inspirations and so on and so forth. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started with the second sketchbook tour. So the first page I have to show you is this sketch, which was inspired by the Luchino Visconti film from 1971, and that is Death in Venice. So this stars Dirk Bogarde, and this is a film that is based off of the Thomas Mann novella of the same name. And this follows an aged composer named Gustav von Aschenbach, who is journeyed to Venice to recuperate, and while he's there, he comes across this boy named Tazio, and he basically becomes fascinated and obsessed with the boy's beauty. And this is a story that really delves into the concept of the ideal beauty. And, in this film, in this story, it's basically embodied by this young boy, Tazio. After watching Death in Venice, I had the urge to draw the character of Tazio, who is portrayed by Bjorn Andersson, who is a Swedish actor. And I thought this was a good opportunity to practice likenesses. I tend to go for a more stylized look to my drawings, and I really do need to practice more on likenesses. So I looked up a picture of him in the film, and this is what came of it. And because the film is about sort of, the ideal beauty, the novella itself makes a lot of allusions to, to Greece, to philosophy, to discussions on beauty and art. I thought it'd be very interesting to sort of like make Tazio sort of a bust, similar to the way that the artist did for the cover of the Criterion version of Death in Venice. It was also a good excuse, so I didn't have to basically draw arms or anything like that, because that would have been a bit more difficult, or I don't know, it saved me a bit more effort. But yeah, this was mainly going to be a practice on likenesses. And initially when I finished it, I was like, oh, that doesn't look too bad. But honestly, comparing this to the reference I took, I'm starting to think like it doesn't really resemble him that much. That's the thing when it comes to likenesses. I go back and forth whether or not I did a good enough job. But like I said, this was mainly just practice. And yeah. The next piece is a bit of fan art for the film The Man Who Laughs, which is the 1928 silent film adaptation of the Victor Hugo novel of the same name. And this stars the great Conrad Veidt, who is a personal favorite when it comes to the silent era. And The Man Who Laughs is about a man named Gwynplaine who, as punishment for his father's treachery, he has a smile carved into his face as a young boy, and then growing up he's taken in by sideshow performers, so he basically becomes a sideshow attraction that people come to point at and ridicule. And he ends up falling in love with this blind woman named Dia, whom he actually discovered as a baby while he was a young boy. And so here's Gwynplaine and Dia. So Dia is, like I mentioned, is blind, and I just wanted to capture the expressions. Mainly Gwynplaine, I wanted to focus on that. I wanted to capture sort of like the pain or the discomfort he has. In the film, Conrad Veidt does a really good job of portraying Gwynplaine's just nervousness and discomfort at people pointing at or referring to his disfigurement, his smile, basically. Like Dia, even though she's blind and she can't see Gwynplaine's like disfigurement, she reaches out, to touch it. He himself has to stop her hand, because even though she can't see it, he still, he still feels insecure and he still feels unworthy. And I wanted sort of to capture that expression here. Don't know if I did it all that well, but you know, this was a good way to practice, once again, likenesses, but then also expressions. The next page is a triple whammy. This is 3 different fan arts for 3 different films, but they all have one thing in common. It's that they came out in 1997, which is the year of my birth. So yes, I'm dating myself. However, I would recommend all of these films, all 3 of them. 2 of them are actually some of my absolute favorites of all time. So the first one I want to talk about is this one here in the middle. This is a fan art for the film Perfect Blue by Satoshi Kon. I never fail or cease to talk about Satoshi Kon and recommend his films. This is still my favorite of his. It was his first. And Perfect Blue is a film that, despite being or coming out in 1997, I think is very applicable now. It's definitely a film that deals with the topics of identity, parasocial relationships. It's also a film that came around during the time when the internet was sort of like this new thing that people didn't know much about. But a lot of what Khan had to say here, sort of rings true even now today in the modern era. In this film, we're following a young pop star who decides to make a career change to become an actress. However, she sort of begins to lose touch with reality. She's having an identity crisis, and on top of that, she possibly could be stalked. So I don't want to delve more into that. I don't want to spoil much, but I highly, highly recommend that you check out Perfect Blue. Moving on to the left, we have a fan art for the film Lost Highway by David Lynch. Now, I haven't watched David Lynch's entire filmography, but as of right now, this is my favorite film of his. I don't want to go in depth on the plot, on the synopsis, because I definitely think you should go into this blind. That's the way I did it, and I just left this film blown away. It is a neo-noir film, and looking back on it, it has a pretty simple story, but it's just the way that David Lynch decided to structure the narrative, to structure the plot. It was done in such a way that I never would have imagined, to tackle the story in this manner. Like, my brain just doesn't work that way. And Lost Highway, it's a film that definitely deals into the dark, into the surreal. And, that's the type of film that I really, really enjoy. So it's definitely right up my alley. It's a film about, reality, our fantasies, our delusions, identity. If you have watched Lynch before and you haven't seen Lost Highway, I highly recommend it. I wouldn't recommend this to first-time viewers of Lynch. Certainly not. But once you get more, dip your toes into his films more, don't miss out on Lost Highway. Now, moving on to the right, we have a fan art for the film Cure by Kyoshi Kurosawa. And this is what I would consider a psychological horror. It's definitely, a detective story. We are following a police detective. But I would say, unlike other, police detective stories where, as time goes on, we learn more clues, we get a bigger picture, a better understanding of what the motive is, what's really going on. Cure is one of those detective stories where, as time goes on, the less you know. This is definitely a film that kind of focuses on the theme of the darkness lurking inside humanity in each, and every one of us. In this film, you have a bunch of killings that share one common theme of the victim having an X carved into their throat, into their body. However, the crimes are being committed by several different people. It's not the one person. However, there is a person who does link all of these people together, and it's a man with this lighter. Now, what he does with the lighter, you'll just have to watch the film to see. So for this page, once again, it was meant to be a practice on likenesses. I think each of these, pictures, these fan arts, are from an image in the film that is pretty, I would say, iconic. And this was also a good practice for, color choice. As you can tell, these are a bit more bold color choices. These aren't just skin tones or anything. I decided to go for purple and yellow. In the film, the character is sort of bathed in blue purplish light, And then for Perfect Blue, well, it's called Perfect Blue. So once again, I thought I would make use of my blue markers and see what I can come up with, you know, what color combinations, what crazy color combinations I can come up with that would still work. And initially, I wasn't all that pleased about it, but then, you know, the more I look on it, I like it. It does grow on me. And then here, I wanted to go a bit more gray, but then I left the eyes yellow, orange, sort of to symbolize the flame and cure. So yeah, once again, good practice, and I really like this sort of exercise. I kind of want to do this for like other films. So this is themed to 1997, films that came out in 97, films that I really enjoyed. Maybe I'll do something similar for another year. I might do 2001, because it turns out that both David Lynch, Satoshi Kon, Kiyoshi Kurosawa came out with more films in 2001. Mulholland Drive, Millennium Actress, Pulse. So maybe I'll do some fan art for those. So the final piece I have to show you is actually fan art that depicts some spoilers for a book, that being The Fall of Babel by Josiah Bancroft. So if you haven't read this book, click away now, move away now, because this fan art, this image will spoil basically the very ending of the story. So fair warning, this is a spoiler warning. So moving on, we have here the fan art. I love it. If you've read The Fall of Babel, you know that this is meant to depict the, long-awaited reunion between Tom and Maria. Him, his wife, and their baby girl, Olivette. Now, I really love this piece. However, I kind of wish I did it on a cleaner sheet of paper. I'm running out of space on the sketchbook, so I had to use this page, which had a sketch I did do and erase. But, gotta make it do. After reading The Fall of Babel, I just had this urge to depict this scene, and the urge never left until I had to get it down in paper. And yeah, I just love it. This scene kind of just brought me to tears because I was waiting for it for so long, and it happened. And yeah, I was going through some emotional turmoil while reading this passage. And I'll actually read it out to you right now. Maria cast her free arm over his shoulder, hooked him, and pulled him in. With Olivette held between them like a shared heart, she pressed her cheek to his cheek, and he warmed her temple with his tears. In a voice made hoarse by emotion, he said, "I wandered so far from you. I've been so lost. I thought I'd never find my way back again." While Olivette burbled between them, Maria whispered beside his ear, "I told you, Tom. I told you this is where we'd rendezvous. Top of it all. End of the world." So yeah, that scene really, really stuck with me. And I just had to draw this reunion. This long-awaited, powerful reunion between these three. And yeah, I had to set it down on paper and pen and marker. So that is the end of this sketchbook tour. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you'll all check out the titles that I mentioned in this video, and hopefully I can get to making another sketchbook tour in the future. So yeah, with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!